Is there such a thing as having too many bank accounts? As someone who has 5 personal bank accounts, 3 business bank accounts, 3 online accounts, a credit card account, and a home loan, you would think that there should be some type of justification put forward as to why I have so many and what in reality is a healthy number of bank accounts to have. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Reese. In today's video, I'm going to be going over what I believe to be a healthy number of bank accounts. This is going to be completely subjective. I like to be organized, and my finances are one of the easiest things to maintain and organize in an efficient way. There are banks out there that will allow you to have hundreds of bank accounts, but just having the ability to have these doesn't necessarily mean that you should open as many as you can. As someone who has tracked their finances for the past 10 years pretty vigorously, I can definitely assure you that remaining consistent in updating a spreadsheet and keeping track of all your expenses and your accounts is a taxing task. Over the years, I have refined my process, so I realistically only need to look at my spreadsheet a couple of times throughout the week, and I find myself only transferring money between my accounts when I'm paid, which is a very manageable thing to do. Now, you could open a bank account for every topic that runs your life and sets your goals. For example, you could open a bank account for Christmas presents, a bank account for saving for a car, a bank account for birthdays, and a bank account for holidays. But breaking up your wage between these accounts would be very tedious and time consuming. Instead, setting up a category for the bank account such as fun would be a much easier task. With this type of setup, you could essentially dump a percentage of your wage into this account consistently every week, building a good habit, and only withdraw from it or spend from it when you're intending to buy something that fits what this category is deemed for, such as a car, or you're planning to go on a holiday, so you withdraw funds for it. Those types of purchases. The same goes for things like bills. I know people who have an account for each utility, and that system works for them because they're happy to service and maintain those accounts. However, again, I personally like to combine all of these types of expenses into one account. So I have one bills account, which I save to $3,000, which is if all my bills hit me at once within the next month, it would cost me approximately $3,000 to pay for them. So I get it to that point, and then everything over that I use as overflow, or it's called buffer money, which I have made a video on and I'll link in the description below. But essentially that money gets repurposed for something else. So whenever I have a bill, if it's my power bill, my water bill, my gas bill, internet, phone, whatever it is, it's an expense that runs my life, it fits that category, that is when I withdraw money from that account. I make sure that enough money is going into it to service those expenses, which at the moment is a 25% of my salary breakdown. And it's a system that's simple to maintain, it's simple to follow. It's built a good habit of depositing that percentage of my wage every time I'm paid into that account. And like I said, it works. I know people who do it successfully both ways, the way I do it and the way they have multiple accounts for each utility or each bill. Do the thing that works for you, but managing 5 extra bank accounts for no reason seems a little bit over the top, to me anyway. One thing to keep in mind, especially if you're someone who has a lot of accounts, make sure that you're not being charged to open those accounts or have those accounts remain open. Some banks charge a fee, I'm gonna say $5 per account. And if you have 10 accounts, that's $50 a month just to have those bank accounts open. Be mindful of this and be wary of this because they can definitely cost you in the long run, especially if you're unaware of it. I know people who have been caught out by this in the past and could have definitely saved hundreds, if not thousands of dollars over the many years that they had access or had these accounts open. I can't encourage this enough, but find a bank which offers bank accounts for free with no fees whatsoever. It's so important because it's such an easy thing to do. They are out there, they do exist. Just do your research. As I have mentioned in past videos, I have 5 bank accounts for personal finance. They include a spending account, a bills account, a big savings account or a house account, a fun account, and an emergency fund. Now, I am fairly certain that you would be able to list any expense and fit it into one of those 5 categories, ultimately showing you that a process with a very simple breakdown is all you really need to manage your personal finance. In my opinion, this setup is excellent. It allows me to break up my wage proportionally, and quite simply, every time I'm paid, it allows me to budget well. It allows me to pay my bills without having to worry about if I'll have enough money for them. And it allows me to meet my savings goals, which I think is really important. And ultimately, it's easy to stick to. I have followed this plan for a really long time now. back when my salary wasn't very high, I still found a way to follow the plan. The percentage breakup of my wage was a little bit different, but I absolutely had the same practices put in place, which have built a good foundation for me. And as my salary has increased, it's been a nice little bonus having a little bit more to put into my spending account, having a little bit excess for my bills account, and building up my savings faster. I can't stress it enough that putting in a good process now while you're younger, or even just starting now and sticking to it for a long period of time, I can't encourage it enough, because you will start to meet savings goals. You will start to be able to budget and buy things that you might not necessarily have had funds to do so because you haven't been able to save in the past. I can't stress it enough. Find a system that works for you, because you won't regret it in the future. Realistically, if you want to have a large number of bank accounts, there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to be prepared to do the tedious work of servicing all of them and making sure that they are all being utilized fully. Otherwise, it's kind of pointless having them. I want to stress that organizing your finances doesn't necessarily need to be as over the top as you can make it, but to actually build a process that works for you and one that isn't unnecessarily overcomplicated. I mentioned at the start of the video that I have other types of accounts which are outside of the realm of my own personal finance or personal use, such as my business accounts or my credit card, and they are used for different things which allow me to run those aspects of my life. In relation specifically to personal finance, which is the thing I wanted to touch on today, is that 5 bank accounts, 5 is realistically, in my opinion, all you will need. That number could probably increase a little bit more if you wanted to be pedantic about a few things, or it could be a little bit less if you're not quite in the position where you need to have 5 bank accounts yet. You might be a young teenager who doesn't really have a lot of expenses, and you could probably tie that into a different account like your big savings account if you're only spending a little bit out of it each year. But again, putting in good practice now is not something that you're going to regret in the future. It's definitely going to set you up to build good habits, to put structure into your personal finance, and ultimately it should be useful for you. On the other end of this, opening up a few bank accounts or multiple bank accounts still offers great freedom in how you break up your wage and broadening your finances so that you can set yourself up for the future. Just to cover it again, I think a simple setup that would work for the majority of people would to be have something like a spending account, a bills account, a big savings account. This is generally for a house, in my opinion, a holiday/car/big purchase fund, and an emergency fund. That's all you really need in simple terms. I highly recommend to keep track of your finances using a spreadsheet. I am going to make videos in the future about how to build a more revised one, because I know I have put out a few videos at the very early days of my channel, but I'm definitely in the works of putting out a video which will allow you to build something very simple, which should meet all of your financial tracking needs. Another alternative to this is to use a financial tracking app, which there's nothing wrong with using these services because they're designed to assist you in building your personal finance into a position where it allows you not to worry about it and feel quite comfortable in managing your money. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope that it was insightful. I know it's a little bit of a nitpicky topic, but it's a fun one to discuss. If you enjoyed, please consider liking and subscribing. And as always, I will see you in the next one.